Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Star Wars Meg, and in today's Mandalorian Season 2 update, we have a few news stories to get through. So before I get into the video guys, please may I ask you to hit like on this video if you enjoy it, to subscribe to my channel if you're new, and also please consider becoming a patron of mine on Patreon. For just $2 a month, you can help to support this channel so that I can keep bringing you updates daily about Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and all that good stuff. But without further ado, let's get back to the video. So the first news story comes from Inverse, and it talks about the importance of Ilum in The Mandalorian Season 2. If you think back to the trailer, we saw that ice planet, and most fans have speculated that it is actually Ilum, which is where Starkiller Base was. The Mandalorian has not required casual viewers to become hardcore Star Wars fans, but this might change in Season 2 because they're going to bring in elements of canon which aren't really part of the Skywalker saga, and if they are, they're part of the games, the animated series, and so on. So amongst all of that, there's a snowy planet which seems to recall another snow planet in Star Wars, but which one is it? While some Star Wars fans thought it was Hoth, the most likely it is Ilum. Or is it a completely different planet altogether? Well, I'm going to make the argument, just like the article from Inverse does, that it is Ilum, and it's extremely significant. So the first question we have to ask is, what is Ilum in Star Wars? It was first introduced in the Clone Wars, and the planet Ilum is the place where you can find the most kyber crystals in the entire galaxy. The Jedi constructed a pretty significant temple there because it was a good place to build your lightsaber. In the pre-Empire era, Ahsoka Tano took younglings to Ilum to build their first lightsabers, and it's heavily implied that most other Jedi do the same thing. Post-Clone Wars, the Empire took over Ilum and used the kyber crystals to give power to both Death Stars. After that, the First Order eventually turned the entire planet into Starkiller Base, using the remaining kyber crystals to make a long-distance planet-destroying weapon, which we saw in Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So now we have to ask, why do so many fans think that the Mandalorian snow planet, from the trailer of Season 2, is Ilum? Well, simply put, it makes a lot of sense. For one thing, there's a big trench that the Razor Crest flies over, and that's a feature of Ilum, and eventually Starkiller Base. Visually, fans on Twitter pointed out that brief scenes of this planet all match up with how Ilum is depicted in the video game Jedi Fallen Order, which, by the way, is an amazing game, one of my favourites. Because Mando and Baby Yoda are searching for clues about the Jedi, it stands to reason that they'd head to Ilum. What better place to get clues about where Baby Yoda came from than one of the oldest Jedi temples? In the Clone Wars, Ahsoka said there is no place more sacred to the Jedi than Ilum. Supposedly, Ahsoka herself will appear in the season of The Mandalorian, and while I did a video yesterday all about how she will appear, we must remember all the Rosario Dawson theories and speculation are just that, theories and speculation. It's not been confirmed by Lucasfilm, even though I believe at this point it is very likely that she will appear. So from a story perspective and from an aesthetic perspective, Ilum checks out. If we're chasing Jedi clues for the sake of Baby Yoda, this place is perfect. So what's the bigger impact of going to Ilum during The Mandalorian? Why is it important? Well, we don't really know much about what was up with Ilum before the First Order era of The Force Awakens, considering that this planet will eventually be the place where Rey would wield the Skywalker saber for the first time. There's a lot of foreshadowing The Mandalorian could do here. After all, Season 1, Baby Yoda retroactively debuted Rey's force healing powers just a few days before the film hit the cinemas. This isn't to say that The Mandalorian Season 2 will outright demonstrate how the First Order began converting Ilum into Starkiller Base, but it might start to explain that process from scratch. All the stormtroopers in the trailer seem like they're left over from the Empire era, they're literally identical, but we could start to see some First Order versions of the stormtroopers. So we've looked at the possibility of it being Ilum, but the question now that I want to ask is, what if it's not Ilum? If you're more of an original trilogy loyalist, like I said at the start of the video, you might be wondering why this couldn't be Hoth. After all, it is the most famous snow planet in Star Wars, but in fairness, it could technically be Hoth and not Ilum, but in one scene it looks like Mando and Baby Yoda are standing next to what might be part of a wrecked snowspeeder, which could lend credence to the Hoth theory. Figuring out why Mando and Baby Yoda would go to Hoth beyond the extra fictional fan service reasons is a little harder to guess, but Hoth is a snow planet in the Star Wars galaxy, and one Jedi did first learn the name Yoda, Luke, at the planet Hoth. Must we ask ourselves the question, is this enough of a connection for Baby Yoda to make the pilgrimage to the same spot? Perhaps. Star Wars has gotten away with bigger connections with fewer hints before. There's always a third possibility though. Maybe this snow planet isn't anywhere we've seen before. After all, the sequel trilogy gave us 2 desert planets that weren't Tatooine, Jakku being one of them, meaning that the Mandalorian can easily visit a snow planet that's completely brand new, that we've never seen before. I think as Star Wars fans, we tend to, connect the dots a lot of the time with regards to what we know about the Skywalker saga, the games, the books, the comics, the animated series, Rebels, Clone Wars, and so on. But it could just turn out that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau wanted to go a new direction with a new planet. I don't believe that. I'm still going with the fact that I personally think this is Ilum. So let's move on to the next Mandalorian Season 2 update. Let's look at what's been in the news, because I think the first segment of this video about Ilum has stretched quite far. Again, it's mostly speculation, but it is important to understand that if it is Ilum, there is a big backstory. So this next article talks about the Pedro Pascal scandal. Now, if you're unfamiliar, 2 days ago in my update, I spoke a little bit about it. I spoke about why I thought it was just a rumor, but it seems in the last couple of days here in the UK, and I'm sure in the US as well, there's been a lot about it in the mainstream papers like The Sun, The Independent, The Guardian, and they all seem to be confirming the fact that Pedro Pascal has left The Mandalorian. One article from The Sun says that the Mandalorian leading man Pedro Pascal stormed off set filming Season 2 after a row over wearing Mando helmet. So it can turn out that Grace Randolph was actually correct the whole time. I do want to read this to you guys because it is pretty interesting. The Mandalorian's leading man Pedro Pascal stormed off set filming Season 2 after a row wearing Mando's helmet. The Game of Thrones actor plays the titular character in the Disney Plus series, which returns for its 2nd season next month on the 30th of October. News sources close to Lucasfilm have now confirmed that Pedro Pascal has left the set and has no intention of returning. His main bone of the contention was reportedly his desire to have some scenes in The Mandalorian Season 2 without his mask, which Mandalorians don't take off in front of other people. According to We Got This Covered, it's claimed that while filming Season 2, Pedro Pascal really wanted to have some scenes where he took the lead. The Mandalorian creative team wouldn't budge on this, so Pedro Pascal, from what I've heard from 2 sources now, was frustrated about this and was also pretty darn uncomfortable in the Mando suit on set, so he became difficult. The final straw for the actor was that even though he was difficult, he went to Lucasfilm to appeal for them to intervene on his behalf. And you combine that with Lucasfilm already trying to get involved with the story aspects of Season 2, they were not too pleased with the actor. It's alleged that after a 2-hour argument, 2 of the directors in The Mandalorian Season 2 told Pedro Pascal that he should just leave, and he did, and he didn't return. Fascinatingly enough, the other day I said that this story was BS, but the fact that it's gaining so much traction in mainstream media and there's a lot more depth to the story, like we weren't aware of this argument that lasted 2 hours between Lucasfilm, the directors at least of Mandalorian Season 2 represent Lucasfilm, and Pedro Pascal. And because they had this argument, because there's more depth to the story and, there's more and more sources saying this, it could be legitimate. It's no secret that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau want Season 2 to be about other characters as well. Maybe this is their way to do it, where we might not see Mando on screen so much, but I don't know. It's really hard to trust sources. We've been lied to so many times with theorists, rumors, speculation over the last months and years in the Star Wars fandom. We just don't know till we see the season. It could turn out that they have enough footage to make it last. We might get a confirmation from Lucasfilm themselves. He might not be at all in Season 3. I'm not sure at this point how this is going to turn out, or whether it's legit or whether it's just rumors, but it is kind of saddening to think that this has happened. And I know a lot of people will say you can just get someone else to wear the mask, the helmet, and get someone else to be a voice double of him. But it's not the same. They cast him. He does really well in the role. His swagger, the way he walks, the way he talks. It just works well. And even just as an issue of principle, it's kind of saddening to think that this is what's happened. But at the end of the day, he signed up for The Mandalorian knowing he would have to be with his helmet on. But again, we don't know the creative disagreements that go within the realms of Lucasfilm and the set of The Mandalorian. So I don't really have much else to say, except we'll see how this plays out. Maybe this is all rumors, and even now the mainstream media who've picked up on what Grace Randolph said and what other sources have said, maybe they're wrong. But it's not looking hopeful, is all I'm going to say. And now, after that downer, we finish with a story that's pretty cool. This one isn't about The Mandalorian, it's about the Rise of Skywalker, and it's to do with the concept art for the film. even though we have a concept art book that's out on Amazon, we now have a new picture from one of the artists who did the concept art for episode 9, and the headline on Screen Rant is "Rey uses the Force on an entire stormtrooper fleet in the Rise of Skywalker concept art." It looks really cool, guys. Let me know what you think. It says that an artist has depicted Rey in full control of the Force in some stunning Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker concept art. I'm not going to read the whole article because, you know, it is what it is on the screen. You know, you can make out of it what you will. We have no clue how this would have played into the story. Is it just me, or is the concept art for episode 9 and the deleted, unused script, the unused scenes, don't they all seem so much better than the film we actually got? Is that just me? I feel like with what John Williams wanted to do with the score, he wanted to use Duel of Fates that we saw in the prequels. He wanted to make it much more reminiscent of the entire Skywalker saga. You know, the original scenes with Rey going to a dark Sith Lord on a faraway planet to speak with him, and Vader speaking to Kylo Ren goes to Vader's temple. There were so many concepts that they should have used, and they didn't use any of them. And it's so disappointing to hear about this, or to see these kind of concept arts when they come out, when they're released, because it's like, why didn't you use this? This is so much better. I would have loved to have seen Rey destroy a bunch of stormtroopers, make her a little bit more interesting or something. So that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope you enjoyed my video. Like I said, if you did, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps out. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. Check out my Patreon. The Patreon link is in the description down below. Comment what you will, and I will see you next time. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a fantastic rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy.